Grand Sage Elric, the wisest mind in the kingdom of Luthien, could no longer read the book before him. His eyes had failed, and with them, the realm's clarity.
You need a lens ground to your specific sight loss, not a crude reading stone.
You, an apprentice? The finest lens makers in the kingdom have failed to help me.
They use reading stones, a fixed curve. Your eye needs a precise shape, measured to the curve of your cornea.
The court scholars exchanged looks of disbelief. This boy spoke of things they had never heard.
This world doesn't know what a diopter is, but I spent 20 years measuring corneal curves before I woke in this body.
Measure my cornea? What nonsense is this?
Let me try. If I fail, I will leave the Citadel forever.
The Grand Sage stared at the young man, then at the blur that was his book.
Do it. If you can give me back my words, I will call you something no artisan has ever been called.
But the young apprentice who faced the Grand Sage carried a secret heavier than any scholar's tome. In another life, his name had been Sota. He was an optometrist in a city of glass towers, until a rainy evening and a truck that didn't stop.
My head. Where? This isn't the crosswalk. This isn't my body.
He had been reborn in a kingdom where the aged and nearsighted were simply left to go blind.
These reading stones, they're just convex magnifiers. They can't correct myopia or presbyopia.
The only lenses in this world were crude reading stones. Thick convex glass that magnified but never truly corrected.
But I know how to grind a lens that can truly restore sight. It's all in the curvature.
He resolved then to bring corrective optics to this half-blind world, even if he had to do it secretly. Night after night, he worked with the primitive grinding wheel, his hands remembering the precise diopters of his old life. Now, the Grand Sage's plea had finally given him the chance to prove that a simple piece of glass could change everything. In that hidden corner, the grinding wheel finally stilled. Sota held the first true spectacles, lenses ground to correct myopia. He went to the crowded market to find a trial, and soon spotted a boy squinting at everything within arm's reach.
That squint, severe bilateral myopia. If these lenses are off by a fraction of a diopter, I'll see it in his reaction the moment he puts them on. Here, put these on. They might show you a world you've only ever touched.
Mother, I can see the pattern on your shawl, and the baker's sign across the street. Every single letter.
His mother wept, never having dreamed her son would ever see the world. The surrounding crowd fell silent, then erupted in hushed awe. By nightfall, the tale of a boy given sight had run through every alley and tavern in the lower wards. 2 days later, a liveried steward from Lord Havron's estate pushed through the workshop door, bearing a scroll with a heavy wax seal. The commission read, "Lord Havron requires spectacles for his myopia. Payment in good silver upon successful delivery."
A lord, this is a gateway to the court, but it also turns my name into a rumor that will reach ears I might not be ready for.
The rumor reached the Grand Sage's tower, and a silent servant brought Sota a summons.
They say you gave a boy sight. I haven't read in years. Can you help me?
I must examine your eyes. A precise lens requires the curve of your cornea.
He tilted the sage's face toward the window light with a hand lens, his movements practiced and professional.
Presbyopia. The lens has hardened. I'll grind a plus 2.8 diopter convex.
No lens maker speaks in numbers. If you fail now, it will humiliate us both.
I won't fail. In 1 week, you'll read your smallest script.
1 week. If you succeed, you'll give an old man back his mind. Go.
He here than any lens blank, but no different from the thousands of patients I prescribed for in my old life.
Sota bowed and left the tower, the sage's fading sight, now a tangible deadline. The kingdom's wisdom depended on a piece of glass. A week later, Sota returned to the Grand Sage's tower carrying a polished wooden case.
Slide them on gently. The right lens is ground to plus 2.8 diopters.
The room. It's no longer a blur of shapes. I can see the grain of the wood on my desk. The nature of light is a divine mystery. bending through the firmament as wisdom bends through the soul. I haven't read those words in 10 years.
The gathered scholars gasped. News of the miracle would race through the court before sunset.
Good. The curvature is perfect, but now the entire court will want my lenses, and that much attention will draw commands, not commissions.
In the shadows beyond the candlelight, a royal advisor slipped away. He carried a sealed report straight to the private chambers of the king, where a man who hadn't seen his own throne clearly in a decade received the news. The message read, "Sage Elric can read again. The young artisan uses a method unknown to any guild. He measures the eye itself. He could restore your majesty's sight." That night, a silent guard in palace livery appeared at Sota's workshop door, bearing a summons that could not be refused. The guard led him through a hidden door behind a tapestry and down a narrow stair. In a dim chamber, King Aldrich sat alone, a state map he could only understand by touch.
You restored the Grand Sage. Tell me, young artisan, what is wrong with my eyes?
Your Majesty suffers presbyopia. The lens no longer flexes. I can grind a lens to correct it.
If you lie or fail, I will have you executed. The kingdom cannot know its king is half-blind.
He'll need a plus 2.5 diopter, maybe stronger. The curvature must be exact.
You will have a workshop beneath the palace. No one will know you are here.
Give me 2 weeks. Then you'll see every face in your court, and I'll keep your secret.
That night, he descended into a hidden workshop carved from stone, with the finest tools the kingdom could secretly provide.
Now I hold the vision of a king in my hands, and if I fail, I lose more than my life.
For 2 days, the grinding wheel never stopped. The first blank cracked under his fingers.
Too steep a curve. The glass couldn't take the stress.
He recalculated the diopter, scratching equations onto a slate by candlelight.
If this second lens is off by even a fraction, Aldrich will see double.
The second attempt came off the wheel whole but clouded, a flaw in the glass.
I need a flawless blank from the batch. The king's sight cannot tolerate a single inclusion.
On the 6th day, he selected a thin blank and ground with a steadier hand. When he lifted the finished convex lens to the candle, the tiny script on his test card resolved perfectly.
Plus 2.5 diopters. Accurate to within a tenth. It's the finest pair I've ever made.
He set the lenses into the round wire frames and closed the case, ready for the king's first clear morning. Before dawn, the silent guard escorted Sota into the king's private study, where candlelight still flickered.
Your Majesty, these lenses are ground to plus 2.5 diopters. When you put them on, the world will snap into place.
I see. The veins on the back of my own hand. And your face, young artisan, not a blur of pale skin, but every line. The map on my table, I can read the names of the border forts. The colors. Their colors. They're distinct.
The world now sees a king with vision. A dangerous thing for our enemies, and for me.
Sit, Sota. Take this pen. I want your name on a warrant that will protect you from any noble's arrogance.
The king's strong hand inscribed a single word across the top of the document in heavy letters. Genius.
Henceforth, you are royal optician of Luthien, with a rank above any guildmaster.
Genius. A title that will draw every hopeful and every dagger in the kingdom.
The sun rose over Luthien with a king who could see his own realm, and an artisan who now carried its sharpest secret. Within days, the royal optician's workshop was besieged. Nobles, scholars, generals, all clawed for a pair of the genius's glasses. One noblewoman wept into her mirror, whispering that she hadn't seen her own reflection in 20 years.
I am Commander Varric. Fit my archers, and I'll give you a soldier's loyalty.
You are myopic. I'll grind a minus 2.2 diopter concave. Hold still.
Shadows. They're edges now. I can read my own orders.
Days later, on the training field, Varric's spectacled archers struck bullseyes at twice the normal distance.
One man to correct a kingdom's vision. Impossible. I need hands, fast.
Master Sota, I've ground glass since childhood. Let me be your apprentice.
The grindstone will teach you. Start tomorrow.
5 eager apprentices now worked the stones. But beyond Luthien's borders, curious eyes had begun to watch the man who made blind men see. In the war chamber of Valdris, King Galen read a spy's report by torchlight.
Luthien's old king sees again because of a single artisan. A kingdom that depends on one pair of hands is already blind. Send for Lyra. If we take the artisan, the king will stumble into darkness within a year.
A slender woman in plain merchant's clothes stepped from the shadows, her gray eyes unblinking.
I will bring him to you, Your Majesty, but the genius will resist. I'll need a carriage with barred windows.
Do not fail. This craftswright is more valuable than a legion.
Disguised as a spice merchant, Lyra crossed the border and entered the capital of Luthien without raising a single guard's suspicion.
The workshop is a hive. Guards at the door, apprentices at the wheels. The man moves through it like a bee's queen. I'll need to wait until he steps out alone. A single moment of carelessness is all it will take.
She blended back into the crowd, a patient knife aimed at the heart of Luthien's vision. Sauta worked on, unaware that his genius had painted a target on his back. 3 nights later, a hooded messenger pushed a sealed letter into Sauta's hands outside his workshop. Valdris agents are in the capital. They inquire about the royal optician. Expect an abduction attempt within the fortnight.
They don't want me dead. They want to steal me, because without me, the king is blind again.
Before dawn, he stood again in the king's private study, a map of the kingdom's hidden supply points already spread between them.
You want to build a vault of spare spectacles? Why do we need such a stockpile?
If I vanish, Your Majesty still has a decade of clear sight. We must build a sealed vault and train a guild to make my hands redundant.
Then do it. Take every resource. I will not let my eyesight become my kingdom's weakness.
Deep underground, a second wave of apprentices began grinding glass, learning diopter calculations the kingdom had never before heard.
Mara learns fastest. In 6 months, she'll grind a lens as well as I can.
The seed of a guild was planted, but the enemy spy was already inside the capital, counting the days until the genius stepped outside alone. A week later, Suta's carriage crested a forest rise. Hidden among the trees, Lyra raised her hand, and 4 masked figures rushed the road.
The spy master was right. They're not here to kill. They're trying to drag me alive from the wreck.
Guards fell. Suta stumbled from the door, a sword knocked from his hand, blood already wetting his sleeve.
Get back. Protect the genius.
Lyra melted into the trees before Varek's sword could find her, but 3 of her men lay bleeding on the road. The carriage was a wreck of splintered wood and scattered spectacles. Sauta pressed a cloth to his wounded arm, his glasses cracked, but still on his face.
Varek, how did you know?
The king ordered me to shadow you. Now we know the wolves are real.
By nightfall, the palace doubled the genius's guard. In the hidden workshop, Mara and the apprentices worked through the hours, knowing mastery was no longer a luxury, it was survival. But in the capital's darkest corner, Lyra studied her new wound and began to plan again. Her patience turned sharper. In the hidden chamber behind the throne room, Sota spread out the blueprint for a vault that would change the kingdom's fate.
This vault will hold dozens of spare pairs. You truly fear they'll succeed next time?
Not fear, Your Majesty. Certainty. A kingdom dependent on one man's vision is a kingdom already half-blind.
Stonemasons worked in secret, carving a vault lined with velvet shelves to preserve the lenses above. Sota's hidden academy hummed. Apprentices now diagrammed the eye's anatomy and calculated diopters on slates.
Master, the curve for myopia, must it be perfectly spherical, or can it vary?
It must be aspheric to reduce distortion. You are beginning to think like an optometrist, not just a grinder.
You are teaching us everything, but if they take you, we lose more than a master.
Then don't let them take me. And if they do, Grind my prescription into every pair. Don't mourn, manufacture.
The vault's stone walls rose slowly. The enemy spy's wound healed faster than their preparations. Past midnight, a shadow slipped through the workshop's side door. Lyra had traded bandages for a glass vial of acid. She uncorked it over a half-ground lens on the master's bench. The glass hissed, pitied, and dissolved.
You won't destroy his work.
Mara's hammer smashed the vial from her hand. 3 apprentices tackled the spy to the stone floor.
Lyra of Valdris, your king's patience has broken. What message does Galen send with acid?
An ultimatum. Surrender the artisan, or Valdris will march. Your king's sight is a candle we will snuff out.
The room went silent. Sota's hand, resting on the table, curled into a fist.
If I run, the kingdom loses its sight within a year. If I stay, we burn for a pair of glasses. Then we'll make glasses faster than Galen can burn them. I am not running.
The iron door slammed shut on the spy. But her warning had already set a war clock ticking, and every lens now became a weapon. Suta returned to his workbench, not just to grind lenses, but to bend light into weapons. He assembled a long brass tube with 2 curved lenses, the first telescope this kingdom had ever seen.
The moon's craters look like mountains. Varric, your scouts will see an army a day before it arrives.
I can see the grain of wood on their siege tower from a mile away. This changes everything.
Now, I'll make a lens to see the smallest things. If we can't outnumber them, we'll outsee them.
Within a week, the first microscope joined the telescope. A drop of pond water became a realm of moving specks. Apprentices recorded star positions through the night, mapping the heavens for the first time in Luthien's history.
By royal decree, the Luthien Optical Guild is founded. Mara, you are its first journeyman.
With these eyes, we'll form a defensive line that reads their movement before they know their own.
But even as the guild's first charter was signed, Valdris's army was already crossing the border, blackening the horizon. A Valdris envoy in foreign garb strode into the great hall, a scroll sealed with black wax in his gloved hand. King Galen demands the immediate surrender of the artisan called Genius. Refusal will mean war. The court held its breath. King Aldrich, spectacles gleaming, rose from his throne with a steadiness none had seen in years.
Your king mistakes my sight for weakness.
He tore the parchment in 2, the pieces floating to the marble floor.
We will not surrender our sight. The genius is a national treasure, and we will defend him to the last.
The envoy was escorted out under a storm of outraged murmurs. War now inevitable.
A kingdom goes to war for a pair of glasses. The weight of every arrow now rests on my lenses.
By nightfall, royal heralds rode through the streets, their torches casting firelight on the faces of citizens called to arms. The genius was no longer just an artisan. He was the banner of a kingdom that refused to go blind. The Valdris army crested the eastern ridge like a black tide, and Luthien's spectacled archers drew their bows in unison.
Loose. Every shaft finds flesh today.
Varric pressed his telescope to his eye, tracking the enemy's cavalry shifting left. A trap.
Sound the retreat for the left flank. Now, draw them into the archers' kill zone.
The line pivoted, then shattered under a second wave of Valdris infantry. A column of enemy soldiers punched through, racing toward the keep.
The floor is shaking. They're already here.
A runner burst through the door, breathless, blood on his sleeve. Master Sota, they've broken the outer barricade. Commander Varric says to prepare for evacuation.
Tell Varric I won't run. If I flee now, they'll chase me through every corridor. Hold the line.
Outside, the enemy pressed closer. The siege engine's rhythm, a countdown. By sunrise, the battering ram was pounding the capital's main gate. Archers on the wall, spectacles glinting, fired into the mass below.
Let them see their king with clear eyes. Every man who stands with me today will witness a victory.
In the burning district, a squad of Valdris commandos smashed through the workshop's rear door.
Protect the cases. Not one lens shatters while I breathe.
Mara's hammer met a soldier's sword, sparks flying as apprentices dragged lens cases deeper into the vault-like storeroom.
They're defending my lenses with their lives, and the king stands on the wall, spectacles catching the morning light.
I see their commander, hesitating at the tree line. He did not expect a king who can see him.
The sight of their aged king, telescope in hand, directing volleys, spread a wild hope through the defenders.
Keep grinding. The soldiers need replacements by nightfall.
The siege wore on, but the capital did not break, and in Valdris's camp, a frustrated commander began to realize that genius was not just a man. It was an entire kingdom's vision. At dawn, Varric's cavalry broke through the weakened Valdris lines. The enemy commander was dragged from his horse in chains.
Bring him before the king. Let this invader see what his spy master never found.
In the throne room, King Aldrich stood beside Sota. The Valdris commander was forced to his knees before them.
Open the vault.
The hidden vault door swung wide, revealing chamber after chamber of velvet-lined shelves. Each held dozens of polished lenses.
I have enough spare spectacles to last 3 decades. Your kingdom's plot was broken before it began.
The commander's face went pale. The abduction, the acid sabotage, the ultimatum, all for a secret that was never a weakness.
You can't steal a sight that's already been copied. My apprentices grind these glasses now.
Surrender your army. Luthien will accept no further bloodshed.
The war ended that hour. The genius had not just restored sight, he had made it unstealable. Within a month, the peace treaty was signed. Sota stood at the gates of the Royal Optical Academy of Luthien, its doors thrown open to all.
Today, the craft of bending light becomes a science. No more secrets. Every child here will learn what a diopter is.
Inside, Mara led a classroom of 20 young scholars, optical diagrams covering the walls. The microscope revealed a leaf's hidden architecture, and students gasped at a world within a world. By night, telescopes charted the moon's craters, and the first star maps of Luthien were drawn on parchment.
This knowledge will outlast me. That's the only victory that matters.
The demand for spectacles has tripled. Our guild members are opening shops in every province.
Eyeglasses became common, and the once blind scholars of Luthien now wrote treatises on light itself.
Mara, one day you'll run this academy. I've taught you everything.
You've taught us to see Master. That's more than just optics.
Years later, the master sometimes retreated to his original workshop, long after the academy had gone to sleep.
The weight of the war still settles on my chest some nights. How many died because I gave a king his sight?
But then he'd walk through the academy clinic and see a child blink into focus for the first time.
I can see the letters. All of them, even the tiny ones.
That joy is still the same. It's the only answer I have for the ghosts.
Late at night, when the halls were empty, he still sat at the old grinding wheel, his own first pair of cracked spectacles resting beside him.
The war, the vault, the academy, all of it built on a pair of lenses. But I'd do it again.
In the academy hall, the royal warrant still caught the morning sun. The word genius bright on the parchment.
This kingdom sees because I refuse to accept a blind world. That's my legacy.
And somewhere in the clinic, another child laughed, seeing a world that had once been only touch. One autumn afternoon, King Aldrich, bent with age, found Sota in the academy garden, a wooden box pressed against his robes.
Sota, I have come to return something that belongs to you.
He lifted the lid, revealing a pair of simple round spectacles, worn, bent, but lovingly preserved.
These were the first lenses you ever ground for me. They gave me back my realm. You gave me decades of sight. Genius. Now I return the favor. Keep them as a memory of the day you saved us all.
Your Majesty, these are just glass, but the sight, you gave that to yourself by trusting me.
The king shook his head, then clasped Sota's hand with a grip that held decades of unspoken thanks. The royal warrant had hung in the academy hall for a generation, but today its meaning deepened. Luthien saw because a man from another world had refused to let a kingdom go blind, and in a quiet workshop, an old artisan smiled, polishing a lens for the next child who would see